Sat Nam. I'm Dr. Shanti Karakalsa, the director of the International Kundalini Yoga Therapy Professional Training. Today, we're going to be speaking about overcoming cold depression, what it is, how do you identify it, and most important, how you can help yourself and your students overcome cold depression. Cold depression it's also known as cold stress. And it's an experience of being depressed, but not being aware that you're depressed. It's when we're numb to our own sensations that we don't even feel it. This is what makes the depression cold or the stress cold. And it gives us an experience of emptiness, isolation, disconnection from our own spirit or soul. It's also sometimes called the silence of the soul. That is the experience or how it feels when we are in cold depression. Now, it's when we're like that, when we're having the experience of emptiness or numbness, naturally we seek stimulation. The intention behind this, on an unconscious or level is if we let ourselves feel as down as we are, or as insensitive, as cut off as we are, we wouldn't be able to keep going. We wouldn't be able to fulfill the duties of the day. And so there's a desire to punch that energy up. So we seek stimulation and we create this experience of being wired and tired. I am stimulated, but I am underneath that really exhausted. This is a common experience in our modern times, the whole thing of being wired and tired, being up, but not able to properly get fully restored or rested at the end of each day. It's when our sensory system and our brain, because of the information overload or the sensory overload, we experience this as numbness or insensitivity. What it comes down to is it's really a dysregulation of both the endocrine system and the vagal system, or this vagal aspect of your nervous system. That fight or flight, sympathetic, and that rest and digest, parasympathetic, are out of sync. It's where we're staying chronically stress activated. This is a disturbance of that vagal response, or that modulation that normally happens, in a healthy nervous system between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. That is dysregulated completely in cold stress or cold depression. It also then has the effect, this dysregulation, of disturbance of your endocrine system, making it difficult to have rhythmic strength or be on a regular circadian rhythm in your life. From a yogic understanding, we understand that tamastic energy is that when we're finally feeling low or down or stuck or quiet, not quiet from meditative stillness, but quiet because the sensation is we're not able to take in a sensation. Or on the opposite side of that is the rajastic energy, which is what directly characterizes what we see when we're looking at someone who's experiencing cold depression, that overactivity, the wired and tired. What we're aiming for is the sattvic, that ability to remain focused, aware, and also properly rested or balanced in our energies. One way to consider it is when we have no vitality, and when we do have calm, that's more like what we consider a normal depression or that stuck energy. When we have a lot of what we call energy, but it's really overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system, and no calm, that's our rajastic experience. Also, sometimes people experience it as covered up or a highly functioning anxiety. It's another way to consider it. What we're aiming for as yogis, what we're seeking or measuring or sorting for in our experience is to have both vitality and calm, to have energy and the ease within that energy. That's our sattvic approach. So now that we have an idea of what cold depression is, how do we know when we see it? How do we identify it? Here are some of the indicators. Because that numbness causes us to seek stimulation, to seek activation, to use adrenaline instead of genuine prana, you'll notice it, cold depression, by the inability really to be still. It's uncomfortable to be quiet and to be still. Instead, we have a lot of action, busy, we're doing stuff, we're going places, but there's very little meaning or purpose to these actions or activities. There's a frequent use of caffeine, sugar, or other substances that provide stimulation, that keep your sympathetic nervous system up and on. Sometimes it shows up through emotional stimulation, where everything is a drama. The common thing about that quick reaction times, say through social media, or something that the clickbait that we look at when we're kind of surfing the net sometimes. But the idea that everything is dramatic, emotionally stimulating, upscaling, the response to an experience or an event with calm and energy is missing. Then, it has a counterpart to that. Everything is urgent, deadline, due, yesterday, push, press. This idea of getting stimulation or through this sensation of everything is urgent and now. That continual sympathetic nervous system stimulation. This can also show up in risk-taking behavior. Substance abuse, gambling, other things that create are at risk or put us at risk. The adrenaline that comes with that risk is a form of self-stimulation. It's that energy instead of vitality. Sometimes this shows up in self-sabotage, where I keep busy, I keep active, I can't complete, or I disrail my positive intentions. You'll sometimes see it in extreme sports, that bungee jumping off a bridge type of thing, where again, it goes to the idea of risk and getting that stimulation of sympathetic nervous system through that risk. Another common way we see this is just plain old difficulty slowing down or stopping. Even when we're tired, we don't feel rested or can't rest. And there's typically with this sleep disturbance, inability to fall asleep, inability to stay asleep, or when we wake up, we don't feel rested. Does this sound something like you've either experienced or you're hearing from your own students? Probably, because cold depression or cold stress it's part of the hallmark of the transition of the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. So we're kind of really like in it. I recently was in a store and I saw this t-shirt on sale. It sums up the experience of cold depression quite well. I'm running on caffeine and chaos. That sense of disruption, of emotional disturbance, of running on caffeine, instead of bringing calm, vitality to whatever my circumstances or demands of the day are. Let's take a look now about what causes cold depression. It's the unrelenting stress, which is also a hallmark of modern times, information overload, the idea that everything has to happen right now, the old idea of putting things in priority, of doing one thing first and then finishing it and starting the next, is not a hallmark of cold depression. It's the other way around. Pressure now, urgent, deadline, And then, as I mentioned earlier, the change of yuga, the change of the age, is it accompanies cold depression accompanies this change of age, and this is what we're in right now. This is a compilation that came from one of our Guru Ram Das Center faculty, the cold depression and sources of stress. This is from Sri Bhagavati. She compiled this for your own reference and understanding of the relationship between basic elementary stress, just life stress, chronic stress, and when that moves into toxic and then traumatic stress. Post-traumatic stress as follows. Cold depression is influenced by each of these, and it's a cofactor in addiction and substance abuse as well. So if we have information overload in everything now, how this formulates, and from a yogic understanding, is there is sound pressure, environmental sound, earbuds that we've got, and sound coming in all the time, and information pressure combined with the sound pressure, it just creates this numbness. It's this overload. It's like how the body responds to too much at once is that insensitivity or numbness or shutting down factor. When we talk about fight or flight, there's a third component to that in terms of the vagal system, and that is freeze. And that freeze response is another way of expressing information overload. Everything now, it's like the pressure says, I'm shutting down my system. It's an adaptive thing, not healthy, but useful when pressure is too high. The change of the age, the frequency shift that we're experiencing now gives us just naturally stress fatigue. It's change after change after change. Stress can be defined as the body's adaptation to change. And we are nothing but adaptable beings. All of nature, all of the creatures, humans as well, we are created to adapt, to adjust to change of circumstances, change of temperature, change of climate, change of food. We have the capacity to respond to change and to stress. It's when it becomes so intense and unrelenting that your body doesn't have that action and pause in it. That modulation is about between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. And this self-sensory system needs to recalibrate to this new frequency. And that's one of the things that takes time. That's one reason this adjustment, cold depression, and that silence of the soul, that sense of numbness or insensitivity or emptiness, is taking as many years as it is, because we are in the process of recalibration. Now, Kundalini Yoga, meditation, and Kriyas will help us. It helps to reestablish that co-regulation or self-regulation of the nervous system and the endocrine system. It helps to create a relationship, deepen a relationship with our own sensory system, our own soul, our own inner guidance. So the practice is really a medicine or a therapy during this change of yuga, this change of age. How do we deal with this? How do we overcome cold depression? As yogis, we're not immune to it. We are also experiencing the cultural changes, the information overload, the chronic and acute stress, the change of the age, the recalibration. We are also part of the humanity and the need for adjustment into this new frequency. What are the ways we can do that? So the idea is when we're overcoming cold depression, we're moving from insensitivity and silence of our own soul to Saibong, to our authentic sovereign self and our deep spiritual connection. That really is the focus. A return from energy, but no real calm, to a sense of vitality, purpose, and calm. That's our compass point. Ways that we can deal with this. When we feel the urge to stimulate, because we're just tired and we have to push through or whatever's going on. What we want to do instead is build our prana. So we're using prana instead of push. Make sense? So we can do really simple things like taking 7 complete breaths, lengthening your inhalation, pausing at the top of the breath, lengthening your exhalation, pausing at the bottom of the breath or at the base of the exhalation. And do that again 6 more times. You can take a moment or 3 minutes actually to do breath of fire. You could do Sat Kriya for 3 minutes with a 6-minute rest. Kirtan Kriya anywhere from 3 to 12 minutes. Do the 1-minute breath for 3 breaths or 3 minutes. So Darshan Chakra Kriya, again, 3 minutes. Chanting any mantra out loud, just to penetrate, just to break through that silence of the soul, that sense of separation from your own inner guidance or divinity. And practicing this particular specific meditation that was given to release cold depression. And that can be done within 7 minutes. You might consider a longer term solution. Those are the immediate things, like what do I need to do right now when I'm feeling a need for to stimulate, increase my energy. So I replace the sympathetic nervous activity with genuine prana through those practices. A longer term view is what can I do to sustain myself over time, to give myself the vitality, the resilience, the endurance, to create a daily practice of whatever techniques you are familiar with in Kundalini Yoga to build your prana. You want to then engage with just start with one new behavior that's going to sustain your prana and your ojas. So you build it through the practice of the yogic and meditation or the pranayama methods. But what sustains your prana is a lifestyle habits, so that we minimize the use of stimulations like sugar or caffeine, for example. And we increase the dietary methods, the lifestyle methods that will help us to sustain our prana. Connecting with Sangat is a really powerful way to create connection from the heart, to another way to penetrate that silence of the soul with a sense of emptiness or isolation. So, is there an upside to cold depression? Maybe. Maybe we can use this as an opportunity to relate to our own soul. Maybe we could use this as a chance to adjust our inner frequency to meet the demands of the new age. We can accelerate our spiritual maturity when we address the silence of the soul, when we address the extreme stress, the acute stress, and make really conscious decisions to form life-affirming habits, to say no to things that suck our energy or increase our stress reactivity, and to say yes to things that build our genuine vitality and calm. These are conscious decisions that each of us can make hour to hour, day to day, of how we spend our time, what we put into our body, even something simple but not necessarily easy, as having a regular bedtime, having a regular time to wake up. These types of behaviors will help us restore our rhythmic strength, help us restore that modulation between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which what we now call self-regulation. These are in reach. We're going to be practicing a meditation that is specific for overcoming cold depression. Here's how it's done. So take your hands, right? The mudra is you interlace your fingers, and press them into these cavities between the fingers. There's a pressure there. Now your thumbs are crossed comfortably, and your index fingers are lengthened side by side. This is similar to the posture that we do when we do Sat Kriya. The difference is that there's conscious pressure in these cavities between the fingers. Your hands are held at chest level. Your eyes are open, focused at the tip of the nose. You can alternatively close your eyes with no specific focus. We're going to be chanting the sound current, Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheguru Jio, from Rag Sadhana CD by Sangeet Kaur. And the mantra will be chanted using your tongue and your navel. But you'll be a mental focus with this. Wa, you're mentally focusing at the navel. He at the chest. Guru at the lips. Navel, heart, lips. Wa, he, guru. And when it comes for the Jio, your Jio is at the lips. Navel, heart, lips. So that will be your mental focus as you recite the sound or sing along with the mantra, chant along with it, holding this mudra with your drishti or your eye focus open at the tip of the nose or closed with no focus. Shall we begin?
Waheguru
Complete your process of the meditation and bring your breath in with an inhalation through the nose. Retain your breath. Keep the mudra and your eye focus, and listen to the sound of the chant of the mantra. Release your breath. Inhale is complete breath, and as you retain your breath, just mentally gather up all the cold depression within your being. Gather it up, and as you exhale, release the cold depression with your exhalation. Once more, bring your breath in through your nose. Retain your breath and feel the sacredness, the preciousness of your life. Now as your breath exhales, as you let it go, release your breath as freely as you would release, so that at the end of your own life, this incarnation is complete. You may leave with ease. Now, allow your breath its own new regular pace, its own rhythm, as a result of that practice. Let your eye focus relax, just relax your drishti. And now relax your mudra. You might want to open your hands and wiggle your fingers and open and close the fingers. You could roll your wrists. You can shake them out, whatever is more comfortable for you. Complete your movements. Let your face relax. Feel the resonance of the sound within you as your breath finds its new rhythm and you sit still with awareness. When you feel this is complete for you, you can begin to move your body any way you want. Reach, lengthen, turn your head from side to side or roll your shoulders. And let your eyes gently open and feel the refresh from your meditation practice. Satnam.